Hello y'all and welcome to the first episode of Level Cap Chronicles. Today we are going to be doing GAUSS. So GAUSS is a pretty powerful Warframe, and he was the first Warframe that I used to go to Level Cap. He's pretty good. Pretty much immortal. You can't really fucking kill him at all unless something goes wrong. But he's a little bit hard to play solo, but in a squad you're never dying. You're never gonna die. You're never dying as GAUSS. Especially with the build I have, yeah, good luck fucking dying. But this is a duration heavy build, focusing on keeping his red line, his thermal sunder, and then our subsumed Zata's Whisper up at all times. So yeah, this is GAUSS. Alright, let's begin by taking a look at GAUSS's kit, and so we can understand his abilities and what we're using him for. So let's start with his passive. Moving as GAUSS generates an electrical charge that fills his battery, and when that battery is charged, shield regen up to 120% faster, while the recharge delay is up to 80% shorter. And it gets up to that level when the battery is fully charged, and then I believe it goes past that once red line overcharges the battery. So Mach Rush. It's a rush of speed that charges our battery. It can be used as traversal, and we're using it to proc Arcane Concentration as well for Zata's Whisper and Red Line to make them last longer, as well as Thermal Sunder. And then Kinetic Plating is normally here. It's just damage reduction. We are substituting this ability for Zata's Whisper for more damage. Kinetic Plating is kind of redundant because we are abusing GAUSS's passive as well as Arcane Aegis for absurd levels of shield regen, so we just don't need the damage reduction, so we may as well have more damage. Thermal Sunder is a powerful nuke ability, not at high levels, but at low levels, but it will affect nearby enemies with heat and ice status, and we are using the augment thermal transfer to put ice plus heat, which combine to create blast damage onto our weapons for extra damage. And then Red Line. This overcharges GAUSS's battery to buff fire rate, sprint speed, reload speed, and shield regeneration. It will help us abuse shield regeneration even more than we already could with this passive, especially when the battery is fully overcharged. Okay, let's get into the Warframe and weapon and companion builds for GAUSS. So, first thing you want to take note of is the 5 Tau Forged Red Archon shards we've got. These are all for ability duration, so we can have Red Line, Zata's Whisper, and Thermal Sunder up as long as possible. And this duration will stack with Arcane Concentration and other duration mods we have for a total of 329% duration. So let's look at the build. Corrosive Projection is for the stripping of armor of enemies in the vicinity. Prime Sure-Footed is knockdown resistance. Prime Continuity, duration. Equilibrium for energy economy. Prime Flow for energy max. Fast Deflection for even more shield abuse on top of Arcane Aegis and GAUSS's passive. Narrow-Minded for duration. Thermal Transfer. This is what we are using Thermal Transfer to put blast damage on our weapons, and to do that we have to cast both the Frost and Heat Thermal Sunder to combine that into blast on our weapons. And like usual, you want to mock rush and then cast it all so it lasts longer, so you don't have to recast as much. Blind Rages for ability strength for Zata's Whisper and Redline and Thermal Sunder. And Umbral Intensify is for more strength. And then Arcane Concentration, we're abusing this for even more duration on top of all the duration we already have. Alright, the Praetos is going to be our utility weapon. This is just a standard melee Kareen Praetos build here. Using it mainly for traversal and using melee Kareen to freeze enemies when we roll, so they're easier to kill. Here are the evolutions: Drifting Grace, Adept Reflexes, Evolved Ascension, and Kinetic Harmony. And then our main weapon that we're going to be using to kill enemies and Thrax is the Warframe Incarnon. Here are the evolutions: Reified Bane, Ready Retaliation, and Critical Parallel. The Incarnon form is what we're going to be using to clear hordes, and the base form can also kill a bunch of enemies and is better for killing Thrax. We got Toxic Barrage, Galvanized Hell, Magnetic Strafe, Prime Chilling Grasp, and Chilling Grasp and Toxic Barrage combines to Viral. Scattering Inferno for heat, Galvanized Savvy for status chance, Prime Ravage for crit damage, Critical Deceleration for crit chance, Galvanized Acceleration for projectile speed, and Primary Deadhead because we're going to be aiming for heads to charge the Incarnon. So I may as well use something that rewards getting headshots. But we can also bring the Furious Incarnon to help us kill Thrax as well as Acolytes. If the Boar Prime runs out of ammo or falls off for any sort of reason, so evolutions are Haven Foray, Practice Grip, and Elemental Balance. Just make sure I have, this is 0113. Alright, so we got Prime Pistol Gambit, Magnetic Might, Galv Diffusion, Galv Shot, Pistol Elementalist, Prime Target Cracker, Primed Heated Charge, Lethal Torrent, Lethal Momentum, and then Cascadia Flare, since this is a heat-oriented weapon. And then for the companion, we are using a Panzer Voltophyla, Viral Quills and Panzer Devolution, basic precept mods. We got Tech Assault for the chance to ignore lethal damage, Reinforced Bond for even more fire rate on our Boar Prime. We got Mystic Bond for occasional free energy-less casts. In case you run out of energy or are having trouble, Mystic Bond will give you a free cast of an ability. Primed Animal Instinct for enemy radar. Calculated Redirection for shield capacity. Martyr Symbiosis to save you in case you come close to death. Resourceful Retriever to double Steel Essence drops if it procs, and Fetch for Vacuum. And then we've got Frenzied Posture build that revolves around magnetic, electricity, and radiation on its claws. And then let's go focus on the Thara, our tech list artifact for Materai. Because Materai is, like I said in episode 0, the main school we're going to be using unless I state otherwise. So this is the main level cap build I use. We got Viclus IV for amp fire rate and ammo efficiency because you're going to be shooting your amp a lot at Thrax Ghosts. High-end Debor for multi-shot to kill Thrax Ghosts faster. Urikanef for more damage to amps. Estivel Ilka for maximum void sling distance, which will stack with Magus Cloud to help us clear the void fissures when we purge Exilizers and for traversal. And then Evi is for 60% amp crit chance and crit damage. And then the arcane we're going to be using that's most useful for this is Zid and Uskus, since we're going to be killing with our operator in case we're going to be killing Thrax Ghost with our operator, and you might have to kill regular enemies with your operator if you go down. But that'll just give extra heat damage on your secondary. The rest of these arcanes, nah, not useful for level cap unless I find something that gels well with the build. And then for amp and arcanes, we've got a 547, which is Cantic Prism, Fod Scaffold, and Certus Brace. And then for arcanes, we've got Magus Cloud for extra sling radius, and Magus Lockdown to tether enemies and crowd control them when you void sling. And for amp arcanes, you can use a variation. I use Eternal Onslaught and Eternal Eradicate, but you could also use Eternal Logistics and Virtuous Strike interchangeably. So that is all the builds for GAUSS. That is everything for the first episode of Level Cap Chronicles. This is my first time doing this, so if anyone who watches has some suggestions that aren't too out of pocket for a PS5 player to implement into these videos, feel free to leave a comment down below and suggest something for me, because I am going to make other videos on other Warframes, probably gonna keep doing it similarly to this. Unless some changes, I would appreciate some feedback. But yeah, that will do it for the first Level Cap Chronicles video on GAUSS. Next video will be on Titania. Alright, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.